Good morning, artsy friends. My name is Ken Johnson. I am your thrifty apprentice, and welcome to our regularly scheduled Monday morning lives, which happen right here on the Thrifty Apprentice YouTube channel every Monday morning at 11 a.m. As long as everything stays the same, right? I have a pretty progressive live planned for you today, hopefully. So we are just going to go ahead and jump right in and get started. Now, what I normally do is start with things that have come into the studio that we will be venturing into looking at over the next couple of weeks, next couple of months. As you guys know, I have tubs of products here that I still am digging through to get open. So many, so many. And we're going to get to them. We really, really are. But let's take a look at some newer things that have come into the studio just to kick off today. I was in Joann's. I'm looking through the art section, and Joann's has started to carry Royal Talent products, which really blew my mind. Now, of course, they have that big box store price tag attached to them, and you have to use the store's coupons really in order to get it down to affordable price. But as I was walking through the art section yesterday, I saw this. It was an 18 half pan with two paint tube artist box by Royal Talents under their Van Gogh um, watercolor line. And all of us at this point are probably very familiar with Van Gogh. And if you've used it, there's no way you don't like it. I just don't understand. It is probably one of the better high quality student grade watercolor paints on the market. And I do air quotations when I say student grade because honestly, depending on who you talk to, will depend on whether the opinion of these particular paints fall into the student grade realm or the professional grade. That's neither here nor there. I looked down under the box, and my friends, there was a red sale tag that said $25. I did a double take. I shook my head real quick because I knew I had to be seeing things. I even pulled my glasses off, blew a little fog into them with my breath and wiped them off with my shirt because I really wanted to make sure I was seeing that price tag right. And lo and behold, it was. There were several of them sitting there on sale for $25 now. If you were to pick up your phone right now and run over to Amazon and type in Royal Talents Van Gogh 18 half pans, you're going to pay about $44, $45 plus tax. I'm not sure how much it would be on other sites, but Amazon being the one I use the most, it was the one I checked right away. Because I really wanted to compare to see if this $25 sale price was really a sale. We're talking about half, 50% to 55% off of what I was seeing it marketed for online. So I feel like this was an excellent, excellent, excellent buy. And I have been in a no buy, but when I run across stuff like this, like, why would I leave this in the store for 25 bucks? Now I have a couple of tubes of Van Gogh that were sent to me by Tisa, a member of our lovely DECA Association, which I have already reviewed. There is a review on the channel for those Van Goghs. But I am going to be combining all of those into this palette somehow or another. I'm going to make it work. Um, if it turns out the colors in here are different from the ones that I have here in the studio. But we'll see. I just wanted to let you guys know about that because I feel like that has been that was like an excellent, excellent buy. All right, now let me stop babbling about Joann's and Michael's and move on and show you other things. I just wanted to kind of show you that really quick. Now, some other things that have made it here into the studio um, from Declan. Here I have a Viva Color sheet. This is actually watercolors that are in paper palette form. If you've paid attention to the channel, especially if you watch my crafting videos or my journaling videos, you've seen me make a custom portfolio that comes with sheet paints in it and it's pearlescent. Now that custom portfolio is listed on Etsy as a custom made item that you can order if it's something that you're ever interested in. You can just hit up the video description, find the Etsy link, and go check it out. But it does include these watercolor sheets in it. So I have never used the Viviva. I've only used the Peerless. So we'll crack into those. In that little gift bag came some really other cute little watercolors here. These are the uh, Renaissance colors. Um, they are beautiful, beautiful from the looks of it. Beautiful, like metallic, almost chameleon-like looking watercolors. I can actually see the different pigment shades in each one of those as I kind of roll the light across a different part of um, the color dot there. So I am really excited about these. Now, recently, you guys saw me playing around, unboxing, and talking about the Paul Rubens metallic watercolors, which to this point are my favorite metallic watercolors. Maybe not. They real close hand in hand with those Julie handmade watercolors that came from Etsy. Nonetheless, I'm going to be giving those a shout out, a try out. That's something that we'll be looking at. Now, I'm not sure about this. This is Japanese Shokishi. This is Ganzen paper. Not quite sure exactly what it is. Let's see. It's a specially prepared, high quality Gansen paper affixed to a hard board, edged with gold, traditionally used for sumi ink calligraphy and watercolor. And look at them, they're so tiny and cute. It is adorable. So at some point, I'm going to be trying one of these out. Maybe I'll use these to paint a ATC. And if you don't know what that is, an ATC is a artist trading card. Although that's not the exact size specification for it, I feel like it'll be something fun. So here we go. This is a Winsor and Newton Professional Watercolors. This is a dot card with cadmium-free lemon, cadmium-free yellow pale, cadmium free yellow deep, cadmium free orange, cadmium free red, cadmium free red deep, cadmium free scarlet. Here's the wonderful thing. I'm sure the colors are going to be beautiful and bright. I actually have never tried Winsor and Newton's professional line of paints. I take that back. I tried them once on like a crop. They were artist friends paints. I've never had them in studio to test and review myself. So I will play around with this dark card. Um, I really hate the fact that Winsor and Newton went so cadmium free with everything. I happen to be one of those artists that like cadmium colors, especially the granulation that they can offer. And I do understand all of the health reasonings that people and the safety reasons that people would want to work with cadmium free items. But my thing is responsibly, you shouldn't be letting kids use cadmium colors. And if you are an adult, I don't think you should be, you would have to ingest it for it to be, harmful to you. And then you would have to consume large quantities, large amounts. So I think that, as long as you use it responsibly and understand what you're doing, then, I just don't necessarily know if cadmium free everything is the way I would necessarily go. All right, moving on. Here we have Crescent cold pressed watercolor boards. Now, here recently inside the Patreon Creation Station community, I test out Aqua board. It was actually called Aqua board. I'm trying to remember who made it and whether or not I have one sitting here. I think I do. So I tried this. This is ampersand crafted by hand in the U.S. Aqua board. I'll be honest. I wasn't the hugest fan of this. It just seems that the colors require lots of paint, lots of pigment in order to be super bright or vibrant on it. And I just didn't really like the fact that it didn't allow much flow of my watercolor paints on the board. So I kind of ixnayed and got rid of that project, which is not something I typically do. So I'm going to be curious to see how this particular watercolor board compares to that one. The only other watercolor board I've ever tried is Canson. I think they're called art boards. Canson art boards. Wasn't crazy about that one either. Not with watercolor. However, those work really well, in my opinion, for gouache and mixed media using gouache as an underlayer, colored pencils on top. Maybe that's what I should have tried with that aqua board. And if need be, I'll end up trying with these crescent watercolor boards. But there's a few of them in here. Looks like two, three, two, maybe more. Two, no, four. Four. One, two, three. Looks like there's like four in here maybe. So I'll get some. I'll get a chance to get some to practice one off screen before I jump on screen and try and do anything. All right. Next up here, I have. Let me tell you, there are certain art products out there that make my mouth water, like it's a delicate, like it's a truffle chocolate or something. You know what I mean? There are very few companies that do that to me. If you followed me for a while, you know Karen Dosh is one of them. I love every single Karen Dosh product I've ever used. That may not be everybody else's opinion, it's just mine. Yes, I understand that they are a very non economical company, but hey, I love their products. It is what it is. And actually, some of my most recommended products here in the studio by Karen Dosh, including their Neo Color 2, which is probably the best watercolor pencil on the market in my opinion. I also love their Supra Color Soft watercolor pencils. Now I've heard that they're a step down from like their museum aquarelle, but I can't tell because they are absolutely amazing pencils. To counterpart that, I have heard people talk about Albert Durer over and over and over again, and I have wanted to try these watercolor pencils so bad. One of the main reasons being because I know this company actually uses artist color names for their watercolor pencils so that it is easy to match them to watercolor paints or any other water soluble product you use that has artist names. So that's one of the most exciting appeals about this to me, other than the fact that they should be light fast and that they are extremely pigmented. And of course, next to watercolor paints, or probably below, under these watercolor paints, watercolor pencils are one of my absolute most favoriteest, and that's not a word, medium. Look at this range of colors. Gonna be beautiful. I cannot wait to crack these open and get to them. On that same token, I have heard Lindsay rave for years about the Stettler Carrot Aquarelle watercolor pencils. The thing is, Stettler is not a readily, not, they're more professional products, let's say it like that, are not as readily available in the US market as they are in the European market, but you can find Stettler products. Michaels carries a lot of them. Unfortunately, Michaels charges an arm and a leg for everything that they sell, unless you're buying their Artist Loft house brand, which is a very hit or miss white label product brand. So you're gonna pay extremely high prices for everything else in there. But they do carry Stettler. I know you can order directly from the Stettler site. Stettler is gonna be carried across Amazon in certain niches. But this is their professional or top of the line watercolor pencil. Now I've tried their Aqua Grip watercolor pencils, which was their student grade set, which were amazing in my opinion. I've tried their Stettler tinted watercolor pencils, and if you never tried them, they are an amazing alternative to the Durant Graphitint pencils. So I'm really excited to try their Carrot Aquarelle and see how they hold up to like my Caran d'Ache super soft colored watercolor pencils, my Durant watercolor pencils, my Durant ink tint watercolor pencils, and now the Albert Durer, which we will be testing out as well. So there we have it, my friends. There is a really quick glimpse into products that you will see mixed in with all of the other things that we've looked at in the past that are coming out on the channel. Into it. So about 2 weeks ago, we opened Shapira Farben watercolors and we painted blind. Don't know if you guys remember that, but we opened that paint set. We didn't swatch anything. We didn't do any color mixing test. We wet those paints and we jumped right into painting and we ended up with this. simple, straightforward, cutesy little piece, which was a wonderful first experience with those paints. Now, I will have a review for those Shapiro Farben paints coming out. Well, it was going to be this Wednesday, but I was dying to do this mega palette video, so it's actually going to probably be the next Wednesday, which I think may be the last Wednesday in August. I'm not sure, but that Shapiro Farben watercolor review video will drop in August. So I kind of wanted to take a couple of lives, not every live, every other live, maybe every 2 or 3 lives, and kind of do the same thing, where I grab a set sitting over there that we need to test and get to reviewing, and just kind of open it and do blind painting with you guys. So if you're going to be following along today, let me tell you now, grab whatever paints you have. It does not matter. They will work. Grab whatever brushes you have. It does not matter. They will work. What matters here is that you paint along if you want. You get some practice in. But most of all, we have fun doing it together. Let's just get into it. So I've already opened this. I opened it in that particular video with the Shapiro Farben, if you caught that video or the replay. But I didn't open anything else. I just kind of took the saran, the plastic wrapping, so we could look at the back of the box. Now here we have the Woomer watercolor paint set. It's 36 colors. It says they're easy to blend, easy to activate, and they have rich color. Inside the set, you get one sponge, one color chart, 2 water brushes, and one built-in palette. On the back of that box, you are going to get a digitized pre-printed color swatching chart, which contains stock numbers for each of the colors, and which is always funny to me to see budget sets do that. And the reason I say it is because 9 times out of 10, true budget companies do not offer open stock refills. So I think it's always cute to see such a in-depth coding system for their products, as if though they're leading you to think or leaving the anticipation that possibly you're going to be able to buy those open stock one day. Now, and you know it's possible if the company stays around long enough and grows long enough. So you're going to also get the color names for each one. They include the pigment numbers for each of the paints. There is a transparency stamp as well as a light fast star chart rating for each of the colors. Below the swatching, you're going to get a chart that deciphers the light fastness and the transparency for you. So here we have 5 stars being equal to 8 or extremely light fast. 4 stars being equal to 7 or good light fastness. 3 stars being equal to 5, between 5 and 6, and it's considered light fast. 2 stars being a 4, limited light fastness. 1 star being 3, less light fast, and then no stars being 1 or 2, not light fast. So it kind of looks like the star system is the American ratings, and then they put a number system beside it, which would be blue wool. I don't know why I was saying blue rail. I don't know where they came from. Blue wool. So kind of trying to justify the light fast system that they put here. Now, here's the thing. This is a white label product, so odds are the information listed here is the information that came from the original manufacturer. So this is where we would have to decide whether we are going to take this with a grain of salt or trust it, knowing that it's white label, knowing that this information is probably information that Woomer received from whatever company actually produces these. And then it comes the question, what company was that, and do you trust their light fast ratings and scaling and testing? So there's always a lot to consider. For the transparency scale, you got transparent, semi-opaque, semi-transparent, and opaque. Small parts are included, not for children under 3. It is designed by the Shenzhen Woomer Cultural and Creative Company. I want to say this is in China. They're made in China. So this is a Chinese budget company. So yeah, I'm going to definitely have to do some digging into them before I get around to the review for this set. They also included in their wrap with it was a pack of their paper. Um, and I've already pulled a sheet out of here to prepare for today's live. Upon feel of this paper, I do believe that it is 140-pound cold press. Now, whether it's acid free or not, I do not know. I'm going to assume it is. There isn't any information inside the paper pack included with it. Let's pop these babies open real quick here. Let's see if I can get in this without taking 20 minutes. All right. And this is just a sleeve that had all the information on it. Oh, that's a journal. Oh, look at a cute little mini travel journal. I'm gonna hold on to that. We'll That'll go into the box of hoard for my crafting. And who knows, one day we may see a little mini journal made out of it. So here we have the Woomer set. Pretty sleek. Filling box, really compact. It's hinged. Popping it open here. That latches pretty well. You actually have to pull out on the front of the palette a little bit to open it. Keep it secure. We're opening to 5 mixing wells, 4 small even ones, 1 large one in the middle. Here we have a Woomer. Is that watercolor paper? It's definitely not cardstock. It's super thin though. Definitely not as thick as the paper here. It's, I don't know, about 110 pounds, maybe 117 pounds. It doesn't feel super thick, but it does have a bit of texture on it. So I'm gonna assume it's either a watercolor paper or a mixed media paper. I'll get around to swatching it all out later. It won't matter. And here we have our, what is it, 36 colors? This is in a removable pre-molded tray, it looks like. Now, those are not individual half pens. Those pinks are actually in the mold. Let's see here. Okay, so yes, it's a pre-molded tray that's glued into the carrier. Now, the carrier is actually pretty nice. So even if you didn't like the paints, you could probably pop that pre-molded tray out. And use some putty and individual half pens and put whatever paints you wanted to put in there. Yes, yes, yes. All right, let's see. And some sponges. We got a couple of water brushes here. I promise you, I have so many of these things at this point. I have a drawer full of water brushes. I'm going to start giving them away in giveaways. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give one away in a giveaway today. So let's go ahead and pre-wet these. We're not gonna waste any time. I'm gonna show you really quickly how to sketch out, because I've already got it on another piece. I need a piece of paper. Let me pre-wet these first. Yes, I have me a continuous mister now, thanks to my lovely people. And I'll set that to the side for a second and let it kind of get all good and juicy. Hopefully they won't be goopy or anything like that. I've never painted with the paints before, so yeah, you know. Alright, so I'm going to just use this and I'm going to show you how to sketch out really quickly what we're doing today. It is super, 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 super simple. I'm going to start with about a third of the way up on the bottom of my paper. I don't know how even this piece of paper is. I'll take that up. Is that a third? Yeah. You'll go for about a third. Make a light horizon line. You can make this as big as you want. As I see it, I'm just really showing you how to do this. So, what we would do is we're gonna kind of sketch in a bunch of mountains. I'm going to form a V in this side, sort of like so, and bring it towards the front. Now, believe it or not, we've created the space for a couple of our mountains. We'll start on the horizon line back here, and I'm going to come down into the water over the horizon just a little bit. You can always erase and take it back up into that V that I made. What we're doing is putting a little landmass out there in the water, right? All right, behind that one, I'm going to come up a little bit, taking it up into the air. I'm not going to go too far from the top of that ridge, and then I'm going to circle it back over and down right into about the center there, giving me another mountain kind of pushed back. Then the rest of this, I'm going to start maybe halfway with that bump here. And the rest of this is kind of going to become a upside down triangle all the way over to the end of my paper. And I'll make a couple of hills and valleys, and this isn't precise, but you'll get the point. You know, you make your mountains across the top, you take them over to the other side of the paper. Basically, we're building a series of mountains here. And then here I would run some just different elements for where shadows would be. I'm just kind of blocking it off. Let's see. And then I'm gonna bring it up just a little bit more. And then over here on this side, this opposite side coming down, maybe about here. I would come up, back down, kind of going into the water, just below the horizon, and bring it back on the horizon line. I know, don't worry, I'm gonna darken it all in. And then here, I'll make another mountain just kind of right above it, just here on the end. That'll come down into the water, and then I will circle it back around, right? All right, I'm gonna grab a pen so I can darken all this in for you real quick, and you can see what you would have. And that, my friends, would basically cover what we're doing. Now, mine is going to be a little different based on the paper spacing that I have going on today. But essentially, we're drawing that mountain range. That's your horizon line that you would see. So you have your water, you have all of your mountains. Oh, one here. Sorry. So you have your mountain range circling around what's going to be water. Now I've already done something similar to this during World Watercolor Month, but it was not something that I recorded. It's just something that I happened to show you guys. But basically, this is what we have going on. So take your screenshot if that's what you want to do. It's very simple to draw out. You can do it, trust me. Now, I've already drawn mine out on a piece of the Woomer watercolor paper and transferred it onto a board to paint on, take down, because that Woomer paper is individual sheets. And I want it to be semi-prepared for today anyway. Now, let me grab these watercolor paints. And I guess it would be prudent to use the water brush that came in it to paint with, right? That would make sense. I am going to go ahead and get started with the first layer that I'll need to dry. Then we'll jump into painting the comments. Now, maybe I should not have thrown the box across the room. Here, let's see. At least I'll know what colors are where. And we'll just go blind. We're painting blind, so I'm not swatching anything. I'm going to grab let's see. I will start with a number 8 round. This is a, you know what? Let's use, well, no, I want to use a synthetic squirrel. I'm using a synthetic squirrel here. And let's see. Let's paint our sky and our water first. That's how we're going to start. So I want to use ultramarine, I do believe. And we're going to do a wash across the sky. Let's see. Now, where is ultramarine? Okay, here we go. Ultramarine is next to the lotus green. Wait a minute. I'm confused. uh, second row down. Okay, so this. I don't understand how this is set up. So this red, orange for Miriam Permanent, um, violet, purple, lotus green. Why does lotus green look purple? It does have PV13 in it. PV13 and PV29. So ultramarine. What? Okay, let me just play with the ultramarine first. Let's see what we have here. Okay, it's ooh. It's not what I expected right off. That's very vibrant and rich. I was expecting myself to have to really dig in there. Okay, I'm really curious about this lotus green though. Oh, you can actually see the blue split apart in there. That's kind of cool. I wonder who produces these paints. All right, so I'm actually going to start by maybe wetting a little bit of my sky here because I am going to want a graduated wash and I want to leave kind of a white cloud sliver right above the mountains. So grab that ultramarine starting at the top and I want to create a bead actually, so I'm going to dab that color in, which was the reason for pre-wetting. And then rinsing my brush using only water. I'm going to start under and bring it on down again. I want to kind of control it and leave like a little small white area above my mountain. Like so. And you can go back and add darker to darken up your sky if you want to. I'm good with the way it is. Just remember to add your darker color at the top of your sky and work down so that it becomes lighter as you move down your page. It's a lot more vibrant than I thought it was going to be, my friends, in all honesty. Now I'm going to jump down here and with the water. And I'm just going to put and then I want it watery. I'm not trying to put a lot of color in it. That's actually more than I wanted. We want it to be light because we're actually creating distance. This entire painting is a distance practice with colors. And I want to keep my strokes horizontal, going, leaving a little sliver back along the horizon line. And then the rest is just water being added to that initial color I put down. Alrighty. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to mix us. I want to do the first coat on the mountain. And for the first coat on the mountain, I really want to use Ross. Is there like a raw sienna in here? There's a burnt sienna, there's a burnt umber, there's a raw umber. Mm. So no raw. I guess I'm gonna have to settle for yellow ochre then, which is this color. Let's see. Hmm. If I keep it watered down, it shouldn't be too bad. Now I could use my red and yellow and mix a raw sienna, but you know why? Let's test what's here. And with it, I'm basically going to paint the entire mountain range except this front part up here. So um, I'm not going to pre-wet. I am going to use water as I go, but I'm not going to pre-wet. And I'm just going to try to just put a unifying wash all over the mountain range. Like I said, this is a very simple, easy painting, but you watch the effect that it has once we're done. And I'm trying to stay away from my little jagged edge that I made there. That's going to actually be a small bush line. It'll turn out to be really handsome and cute. And just get all of that painted in. I'm not sure how long it'll take this paper to dry. We may be moving on while some of it is still wet, which will be fine. But I just wanted to get that initial wash. Really light yellow ochre. If you have raw sienna, I would suggest using raw sienna. It's just a little bit of a more transparent and cleaner color than yellow ochre is, in most cases. All right, that, my friend, we're gonna call our first layer. Need to let that dry, and then we can move on to working on actually just laying down more color to start creating distance. And then the last thing we'll do will be the thing that is closest to us in the foreground here, and eventually add some shadows to the water and some bushes kind of growing out over here. Okay, so next what I want to do is start to increase the color on the mountains so that we can start to create some distance. And I am also paying attention to the way this paint looks as it dries. Now what is funny is that's all dry. Don't see any flakiness. Love that. Why do these look so familiar? Yeah, they do. They seem really familiar. They seem super familiar. All right, my friends. Yep. I'm telling you, I know my paints. I know my paints. When I see them, I know what be going on. Hold on. Let me just try. Let me see something. Oh, that's phthalo blue. Where is the ultramarine on here? Or is it on this one? It's on this one. Is that it? That's not ultramarine either. Where is it? That's it. Hmm. That looks super duper close. And this one is 18 and 19. I think this is a reformulation. I don't know for sure right now. I can't be 100% sure right now, but it's almost like these are formulate the mix, the color, the pigment mix or the dye mix is not as strong. But we're going to be seeing. We're going to be seeing. So what I want to do now is find out which one of these colors is. I'm going to be mixing ultramarine in. Now you can mix ultramarine in your permanent rose. I'm going to use a brown, a reddish brown here. Now this set has Indian red and burnt sienna. Let's see what Indian red is giving. Okay, I think I like that. Let me grab a little of this ultramarine. That was not ultramarine. Or was it? Nope, that was not ultramarine. Let's try it again. Indian red and ultramarine. The paints are pretty though. I mean, I'm gonna be very honest. Right off the bat, they already resemble the Shapiro Farben set, which in the review you will hear me tell you I'm more than sure superior paints. And here's the thing about budget sets. Odds are you can buy the same paints over and over and over again, rebranded under another name. And, you know, that's what I'm here for, so that you don't end up buying the same paints over again, rebranded under another name. But I'm going to take that grayish purple tone color, Purple Mountains Majesty. You see, that's why I wanted to use the Indian red versus the burnt sienna. I got more of a purple hue undertone to that little gray that I mixed, and I'm going to grab that with water on my brush. And first thing I want to do is go in and put a coat all over my entire mountain, keeping it as watery as possible. What I do not want to do is block out the yellow ochre that I have in there. I need you to be able to see it through my glazing. So keep it watery. Don't add too much ultramarine to it. Adding too much ultramarine is going to darken the shade. And you want to try not to reactivate the color that is already down. Now, if you are an Inktense pan paint user, this would be a wonderful, wonderful project for Inktense pan paints. Add a little water to that. It's getting a little thick for me. And this is definitely a wood pulp paper. I'm getting some pretty hard lines when the paint dries. So if this is a set you pick up with that paper in it and you use it, that is something you need to be aware of. And I'm going to be mixing more of that color in just a minute, so I'm not too concerned. Let's go up here and pronounce my peaks a little bit better. And then we're going to enter another drying phase, because this is all about layers. And I knew it would cause for a pretty long line. And if you miss it, then that's cool. Alright. So, alright, so I need to let that dry, because then I need to go in and start enhancing some more of the colors. But I can't quite do that until that dries. And I'll show you. See here what I mean by the colors separating. You can see that that blue is starting to separate from, and that's what Superior does. Superior will do that as well. I know semi-art will do that as well, but I don't think these are semi-art paints. Semi-art paints are a little bit more chalky, in my opinion. Although I know they do white label for a lot of budget companies. Now the thing is, this is a Chinese produced company, so it could be. No, they're definitely white labeling. I don't know of a Woomer factory. And actually, what I'll do before I get to the review is look the company up that produces this on AliExpress, on Temu, and on the manufacturing sites that I work with in order to produce my own products. And see if I can find the company that produces this set because I want to know if they have their own small manufacturing plant in China or if they themselves are white labeling. Because I honestly, like I said, I think they're superior. I do. This should be dry enough to move on. And I'm going to mix more of, was this it? Indian red? Yes. Indian red and burnt, nope, burnt, not burnt, ultramarine. Indian red and ultramarine. I actually could combine this set with the Shapiro Farben set. I really could. I'm pretty sure those are almost the same paints. You see, that's what I like about that Indian red. Do you see the purple undertone? Which means that the ultramarine is probably purple, more purple leaning. All right, so now I want to paint a couple of different things. I want to get my mountain over here painted in. And notice I'm not adding water this time. Keeping it pretty straightforward. It will shift as it dries. And this paper, as you can see, does have quite a buckle to it. Although I do have it kind of taped down. So definitely something to keep in mind. And I'm being careful because I don't want to paint the mountain behind there. I definitely want to keep that light. And it's so funny. Every time you do a painting, there's something a little different about it. And I can already see the differences in this one versus the last time I did this. Let's see. What other mountains do I need to paint? I need to paint here because this side would be shaded. I can hear Corinthians in there on the phone. I think he has an interview today. Wish him good luck on his interview. That's a little bit more wet than I want it to be. I don't want it to puddle. Like I said, the paper is buckling a little bit, so it's doing that. And it. So I'm gonna take a dry brush and soak up a little of that color. All right. And then I will move on to painting these two. Now, if these were truly transparent watercolor, what would be happening is that we would be able to see the layers of each of the previous paints through. I want to be careful not to paint the part I don't want to shade. And yes, I'm turning this all around. Turn your painting so that it's comfortable to you, please. Always turn your painting so that it's comfortable to you. It's a little bit harder, excuse me, when you create content, but It's important to be comfortable when you paint. It should not be a stressful time at all. And if it is, get up, walk away from it, give it a minute, come back to it. All right, we have got that portion covered. Now I have to give that time to dry. Oh yeah, I told you this was a layering project. I told you guys that. But the distance that's going to be created once we get everything done is going to be pretty cool. Yes, and we're going to be getting darker. We are going to be adding an even darker shade to some of the mountains moving forward into the foreground. And that'll be before we get to adding in um, the colors for our foreground, which are going to be really, really bold and rich and warm tones. The next step we'll be doing is we will actually be adding even more color to this very front mountain here and this very front mountain here, pushing everything that we just did back a little bit more. And then eventually I will go into creating some shadows into the water, but we'll get to that in like our very last steps. Now I will say, I was trying to see if I can see granulation in that ultramarine. It's okay. It's not a lot of granulation, but it's okay. I'm going to switch over to a number 2 round real quick. This is a golden Teflon. I just want to get in some of these little nooks and crannies I may have missed. Like so. Alright, there we go. That needs a second to dry. Let's move on and add in our next layer. I feel like this might be dry enough. And on the next layer, we are going to be doing this one and this one. We let it dry, and then we're gonna be mixing. Well, let's see. We're gonna mix ultramarine and I haven't used a rose, so I'm not gonna use a rose. I am gonna use that Indian red though, because that's what I was using, which we already know is going to take it more towards a purple hue. And then I'm going to use a little of that yellow ochre, which is going to grid up because yellow and purple are opposites. And I feel like it's too much water in that mix, so I'm going to put that brush to the side and I'm going to remix that with a synthetic that's not going to hold as much water. But you really shouldn't be this small one, but that's what I'm going to use. Then we had Indian red. See how cleanly they mix? They mix so, these are superior paints. They mix so cleanly. They really do. Beautiful secondaries. Mix the ultramarine and the Indian red gave me a purple or violet. The opposite of purple violet would be yellow. So mixing in that yellow ochre, which we've already used in order to keep the color harmony, is going to give us more of the gray tone that we're looking for. And I do not want to use this little brush, but I don't want to switch back over to the swirl. So let's use this number 4 Princeton. Since I have it sitting here, I'll load that up with some color. And I just want to paint the 2 front mountains again. the ones that will be closer to us that we've been working on already. Now, um, I'm adding more water to that. See if I can lighten it up a little bit. I don't want it as dark as it was going down, and I do want it a little bit more watery so that as it dries you can see the previous layer of paint. Paint that entire area like so. And I'm repainting the top because I want it to all dry at the same time, or dry at the same level. And I may actually end up putting another layer of paint on these before it's said and done. Mainly because I'm not sure it's going to be dark enough. But we'll see. It shouldn't take this layer long to dry. I'm going to put this down and then I'm going to recheck the comments because I wasn't done reading through them. I just want to kind of go ahead and throw that on real quick. I may need to throw on another one of them. If it's not dark enough. Okay, let me see. Do I need to? I think I want to add one more level of paint to that. Now it's starting to get. Look how easy it re-wets. Look at that. That's crazy. Did you see that? Look how easy they re-wet and recondition. Friends, listen. This is Superior. At this point, I'm about 80% sure of it. So odds are I probably won't review this palette. I will go ahead and swatch out the paints. I'll do a color mixing chart with it. I'll even do a few paintings. But more than likely, it'll end up being just a quick overview instead of a full in-depth review of these paints. Wow, it was way too much. Now let's see if I can make this work. I'm sure I can. It's just gonna be a big puddle of it. That brush is cute. I love that brush. The brush, I like the brush. The paints are decent. Yeah, Superior. You know, I like Superior paint. So if it's a Superior white label product, you're gonna hear me say the paints are decent because I think Superior paints are decent. Let's see. Let's go in here and do one more layer just to get a little bit more darkness. Now, at this point, you probably get where this whole video was going with all of this. So if you wanted to move on and get this done versus waiting on me as I do all of my yapping and showing different things during the video, then by all means go right ahead. As soon as this layer dries, I will move into doing the foreground and we're going to be done. I said I was going to take a little bit more time with today's live than I have with ones in the past. And I'm going to jump back into my comments section in just a second. See, I like that better. That's creating even more distance. You see how me putting this extra layer on pushes the rest of those mountains back even further. And it's amazing. You don't have to do a lot of detail. I think people get really caught up in looking at what other artists do instead of finding their own way. Landscapes do not require a lot of detail. Now, am I a detail painter? Yes. Do I love doing landscapes in detail? Absolutely. But every now and then, I love to show these really simple paintings that's basically teaching you the techniques you can kind of roll over into doing a lot more with something else, but still kind of giving you a finished composition that you could be proud of. And that's where I'm hoping this is gonna go. This one I'm hoping this is gonna go. All right, I need to let that little layer dry, and you can see the granulation. The ultramarine blue definitely offers some granulation. So, and you can see that with the lighter first layers we put down, it pushed those mountains back. Then with the second layer, the darker layer we just put on push those mountains back. And so the darkest mountains we have here are going to be the ones that sit closest to us in the horizon. And as you can see, because of the way we drew that in, it created this little cove. Like the water kind of goes back up into this cove. We're really cool. And once we start adding in the warm colors into the foreground, it's going to actually push this really simple flat wash of blue out, making it look like we have water here. So basically what we're using are paints and shading to create distance and to fool the eye into believing flat paper has turned into an actual 3D shape of mountains. These are the type of techniques and the simple lessons that carry over into you doing your elaborate things. But you have to know the foundations, right? Now, a lot of you guys that are in the chat already that are watching, a lot of you guys are creatives yourselves. You're much more advanced than just like super beginner level. That information I just gave was strictly for super beginners, just so you can have something to hold on to and despite the chaos of my lives, we need to move on and get some foreground painted here. I'm going to be grabbing, let's see, uh, I think I have a number 6 over here somewhere. Okay, this is one of those Artigers, the synthetic squirrel. This is a number 6 round. And what I want to do is start painting the color in the foreground so that we can push those mountains back even more. Now, I'm going to begin with mixing or putting down, if you have raw sienna, use raw sienna. I'm going to be using yellow ochre because this set doesn't have a raw sienna and I don't want to mix one. There, straightforward. I do not want to mix one. So I'm going to be lazy and use the yellow ochre, which is a little bit more opaque than raw sienna. But if you have raw sienna, use that. And if you don't have raw sienna and you want to mix it, start with your yellow ochre base and then slowly add a little bit of permanent rose and a little bit of ultramarine blue until you get the color that you're looking for. Be very, very careful. You want to try to keep it as transparent as you can if you're using a transparent watercolor. If not, just use your yellow ochre. It'll be fine. Okay, so I wet that area and now I'm going in with yellow ochre and I want to keep this wet. I'm not really sure how this paper is going to work with me here because it's already buckling and doing its own thing. And I'm just getting that yellow, and this is just a base. This is not going to stay. We're using, this is our base. I'm getting that color. Look how well those colors react. This is superior. Yeah, I know you're going to be tired of me saying it, but I'm going to keep saying it so that if you already have these paints, if you already have a superior rebrand, these don't run out and buy these. If you already use like the fan palettes, if you already use Art Wheel, if you already use Shapiro Farben watercolor paints, there's no need in buying this set. However, if you don't use those, if you don't use any of those sets, this set is actually cheaper, and it's 36 paints, and they're decent student quality. Now, I will say I think the Shapiro Farben paints are superior master level paints. I don't think that they are. And you see how it kind of gave the impression that because of the way we're painting, that maybe that heel rose up there. Isn't that neat? All of it just from laying down color. We have no special. The colors are creating the special effects for us. All right, so now I want to keep this moving. I'm gonna add a little bit more color to that. I want to try to keep this wet because what we're gonna do now is start adding a little detail into that. So I'm gonna give it a second, let it be more damp and wet, and then I'm gonna add burnt sienna and French ultramarine mixed here and there, and we're gonna allow those colors to blend, right? And then we'll add that mix um, as it dries a little bit more, so the spread less. So we don't really have too much. We haven't been using burnt sienna. We've actually been using um, Indian red, right? So while my brush was still dirty with that yellow ochre, I just grabbed a little water and I'm mixing it into one of those um, wells of darker tone we mix for the mountain. And I'm adjusting the color, what I've had. And all I'm going to do is I want to kind of go in and drop that into the yellow ochre and let it spread. This is why you wanted to keep the paper wet, because you want this to bleed out. You do not want this, and we're going to do it across the top too. And just that back section of yellow ochre, not the front section. We're not doing that. We're just dropping this along that back section of yellow ochre across the top, across the base. And as the paper dry, the more you dab in, the darker that color is going to get. So I'm going to give that a second to dry a little bit more. And then I'll go in and drop in a little bit more of that wash. You know what? Let's make that a little darker. I'm going to grab a little bit more of this darker tone here. And notice I'm not working with a lot of paint. I'm using what's on the palette. I could paint with Superior Paints all day. I'm just gonna tell you guys now, like I love them. I could really paint with them all day. And there's gonna be like some. I'm gonna go ahead and start throwing some grasses down here because there'll be a few like down there, shadow wise, coming up off top of the mountain and things. I'm gonna throw those down there now. And with that, I see that it is dried enough for me to drop in that second layer, keeping it like along the crease. There is a separation, and it's gonna, it won't diffuse as much this time because it's not as wet. If you've never tried damp paper blending, it is a wonderful in-between technique versus doing wet in the wet blending. Give your paper time to start to dry, but before it completely dries, go ahead and start dropping in your mixes. You'll get a more saturated blend than you would if you were doing wet into wet. Um, Absolutely gorgeous, don't you know? So you got that body beautiful flow. Body beautiful, baby. A little salt and pepper there in case you don't know who that was. All right. So let's see. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Something over here. What was that? Something got a hold of me over there. We'll have to see if we can blend that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and start to throw in. I want to actually kind of re-wet this section just a little bit. I'm gonna try not to blend up into what I've already done. I need this section a little bit wet because I want to go in and get some of that. Now, if you've been using burnt sienna, use burnt sienna. I'm going to use my Indian red because it's what I've been using and I want to keep color harmony. And I'm just going to kind of tap that Indian red in to certain places here along this patch of grass that's closer to me, right? What I want to do is add in some color variation So it looks like a land difference between what's here and what's here. Maybe when you cross over that hill to this hill, you start to get to some grasses that are a little bit more red, a little bit more yellow, versus things being a little bit darker back there. And don't worry, it's gonna make sense in a minute. It'll make sense, I promise. All right. And because it's damp, once it dries, it'll just look like, a little variation in the dirt or the bushes or the whatever, the dune. Okay, what else do I want to do here? I want to, I want to switch over to I'm going to switch over to synthetic brush in a second. But I want to go ahead and put in my shadows. And I'm going to use that same gray tone that we've been using. I'm still using the same synthetic squirrel. And, well, see, the thing is, that's going to end up being darker. And there'll be a little bit of shadow there in the dude as it comes around, like so. And that will streak out on its own, like so. Gonna dry a little different. Gonna dry a little lighter, but that's okay. I'm just gonna darken it just a little bit so I won't have that much of a shift. And then somewhere like in here, these would be like maybe trees. So we'll pull some shadow out from that branch, that part. And then here, plus who knows what's coming from over there, right? Maybe several things over there. But it's gonna add depth. And as you move directly towards the front, sorry about that. Other phone was ringing. Forgot to put that one on Do Not Disturb. Let's see. And then I want just a little bit back here in the cove. Notice I'm not making the shadows too dark at all. But you can still see them. They make sense and they add depth. Okay. And then I want to come right over here and I'm going to take that shadow all the way up to that mountain, leaving just a itty bitty sliver there. And then I'm going to work this back so that it looks like it's simulating that part of that mountain. Look at there. Easy peasy, beautiful cover girl. Right there. Cover girl don't suit me. Think that's cute. And notice I use choppy wave strokes because we're emulating water. Now, it could be that if the water doesn't have any movement, let's just pretend our water doesn't have any movement, then maybe that would be a little bit more of a solid mass, like so, and you won't see many shadows, but you'll still get the same effect. And there, we have a little code, very easy, very simple. I'm gonna add a little bit more, a few more darks to it as soon as this all dries. That's pretty much it. We just need to add some more darks to it just to bring like our little trees that are in shadow along this mountain out a little bit more. And then we are going to be putting in our, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and throw that in now. We're gonna do that now. Right out of this corner, we're gonna put a few little twigs. They're gonna have flowers on them before it's all said and done. Make some of them long, double some of them up. And it's gonna look a little junky at first, but once the flowers go on the end, it'll make perfect sense. Like so. Because it's just shooting at the end over there, based on the way you're taking the picture, which is why you see the flower, the little grass is popping up here. And we'll add a little bit more color to those. But yeah, I think I like it. Ooh, I think I like it. I think I like it. Ooh, I think. All right, we'll give this a second to dry, and then we'll add in our final darks, and we will sign it, and we will be done. Let's go ahead and finish this up. How are we looking here? Oh, I think I'm like. Ooh, I think I like it. Let's just make us a darker tone so we can add in our final few grasses, final few things, and then we're gonna call it a wrap. All right, I'm gonna make up some more of my dark, and although I'm gonna be making it from again my Indian red instead of burnt sienna, so that I could what keep color harmony exactly. I'm going to be mixing that with my ultramarine, and more than likely this time I'm going to use much more ultramarine because I want this darker. And as you can see, even it just takes on this beautiful dark rich purple tone. Now if it's too purple for you, using Indian red and ultramarine, I understand if that's too purple. Just make sure you use your burnt sienna throughout. Um, but with that Indian red, make sure you can add in some yellow ochre. And I'm not worried about contaminating pans, my friends. You can add in some yellow ochre, and it's going to help to neutralize and make it a little darker. All right, let's see what we need. We definitely need to pay attention to our grasses here off the front, which need a little help, like so. And then I want to just, you know, just with a scrumble of the brush. You're not really trying to make anything perfect. Just going along the bottom, which is going to add division between this section and this section. And as I move out towards the water, I'm going to get thinner and smaller. Keep in mind, we are creating distance. So other than cooler, lighter colors, you also use scale to create distance. The further back something is from the viewer, the smaller it's going to appear. The further up on the page is going to appear. So since this is my foreground, because I want these grasses or tree lines or whatever to look like they're further back, I'm starting higher on the page to put them in. And as I move from left towards the vanishing point, which would be an X in the middle of my paper, I'm going to get smaller so that they appear that they're going off into the distance. Hopefully, what I just said makes sense. Hopefully, you got that. All right. And then I'm going to put a few at the top here, like they're coming off the top of the mountain. And it doesn't necessarily have to have a starting point and even make sense. Listen, stop believing that your artwork has to make sense. It doesn't. Only to you. And hopefully someone else will be able to see the beauty in it. You know what I mean? It's hard, especially as a content creator, not to worry about public opinion. I mean, our channels, our businesses, especially me with owning a business, is kind of driven by public opinion, right? And I'm just dropping a little bit more right in, almost as though I'm putting it on the face of that back mountain, just for a little bit more separation there. You don't have to do that. It's a thrifty thing. Okay. Now let's darken up what we had going on here. And even if you draw darker lines on top of what you've already had, it's just going to make it look like it's pushing some of them in the background. So that is absolutely fine. Do not let yourself get too boggled down with this part. You just want to have some stems coming up because we're going to be adding some of the colors we've been working with today there as a bundle. Okay. I got one final thing to do to this, and then we're going to block it off, sign it. Maybe, you know what? I'll get to that in a minute because I don't want nobody talking about me. Tisa. I'm going to throw in. What am I doing? I don't know. I'm just kind of making some dots there. Maybe we have flowers hanging off. Something. I don't know. I'm gonna grab a little of the Indian red. Ooh, so pretty and thick. I love that color. And I'll throw a couple of those in, like so. What else we need? I'm going to just a little dark in there. And I'm not even trying to make shapes. I'm just like, you see, it made leaves of it of its own, and it just kind of helped to frame everything. I think it's really really cool. I think that's it. I'm gonna put a little bit more shadow around the bottom of this bank over here to give it a little bit more depth. Just so you can see, like, oh yeah, that's definitely part of coastline going back in there like so. And from that line goes up into the grass. Perfect. Love that. Love that. Love how that divides it off and just gives it that cozy look. I'm going to make it a little darker right like so. And it's gonna dry brush a little bit, which is perfectly fine. Which means that it won't completely cover up that mass, solid mass I made. Just giving it a little texture. That's all I'm doing. Just giving it a little texture. I think that's going to be a wrap. Shadows in the water works well. Let me grab a liner. In my liner bag for all my fine liners. Let's see, I'll use a 1 mm or 1 milliliter. 1 milliliter. 1 millimeter. And that's what I'll use to outline things here. Okay. Turn your paper, make it comfortable. I'll never ever be able to say that enough. Even if you are a content creator, even if you're putting together a video, it is important to be comfortable. So just always explain to your audience what's going on and roll with it. Okay, there. Now let's sign it. Where is, oh, you said something to be fine. I'll just sign this LeVar 824. Go. And you know, I can't help myself. Head up, Tisa. Right back here in this little code, we're gonna throw a little bird. Keep the V small and thin to give it distance. It's in the distance. It's been flown over those mountains already. It's already on that side. How about one up here? But maybe he hadn't flown as much. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make him much bigger. Right here. He's a huge bird. And then under that V, we're gonna double it. This is gonna give it substance, more of a body appearance. and keep it from looking just like a V. You can even pull a few feathers off of it if you want to. Ain't nobody gonna be mad at you. Alright? And then we need a third one because three is a charm and we don't want it off balance. And why not? We'll just put it right here in the middle. And I'll keep it about medium size. There. Real simple, straightforward. And I'll go ahead and remove the tape. Keep in mind, pull away from your painting when you're removing your tape. That way, if you do tear something, you don't actually tear the painting. Pulling this way may actually put it across the paper. So instead of pulling in this way, grab your tape and always pull away from your painting. Okay. And so that I'm done with this, I'll check the comment section and we'll get around to our giveaway. So I'm gonna again pulling away. And last but not least, I'll get this top one. And we're gonna pull away from our painting. And there, my friends, we have a very simple, easy, straightforward landscape that we painted without using too many details and still pulled off something I feel that anyone would be pretty proud of painting. Yes, 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 yes. All right, friends. What do you guys think? You've already told me. If you're going to be watching this in replay, please, please, please jump into the comment section and let me know um, what you think of today's little project. Guys, thank you so very, very, very much for joining me today. If you were live, thank you for being here. Congratulations to the giveaway winner. If you're catching the video in syndication replay, don't forget to jump into the comment section. Let me know what you thought of today's process, today's finished product, and be sure to hit that subscription button and notification bell so you do not miss when we upload or go live. That way you can be here with us through the whole thing. Go out, have a great week, enjoy yourselves. I will see you back here Wednesday for our pre-recorded release at 10 a.m. And then of course Sunday for our pre-recorded release at 10 a.m. If you are a member of the Patreon community Creation Station, I will see you tonight for our Creation Station live at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you are not a part of the Thrifty Apprentice community over on Patreon, subscription is $2 a month and you get a lot for that $2. And I'm thinking about adding some more things. So definitely go ahead, check that out. And Patreon is where you get more up-to-date, detailed instructional videos, one real time versus time lapse like you have on YouTube per month. You're going to get one real time live every week. You get the behind the scenes series, a thrifty reel. So a lot of perks, a lot of perks. So definitely come join us over there. With that being said, thank you so very much, my friends. And remember, as I tell you at the end of every single video, just keep creating.